Snow in Arizona? What's going on? I'm Jessie from the Natural History Institute, and I'm going to explain. So if you picture Arizona, you probably think about a desert, and that's true too. But Arizona is actually very ecologically diverse, and the high elevations do get snow. The snow is really important. Snow conditions in Arizona's mountain watersheds determine how much water is available in the spring and summer. And this is important for wildlife, for plant habitat, also for recreation. The Southwest is interesting because it all has a bimodal precipitation pattern, which means twice a year there are big rains. You may know the summer monsoons when we get these huge torrential downpours. There's also milder winter rains in the south, and in higher elevations, that's snow. Historically, the snow was even a lot more than this. And what's great about it is that snowpack in the high elevations helps regenerate springs and to maintain base flow of water. So what's the problem? So since 1915, the average snowpack in western states has declined between 15 to 30%. The amount of water lost from this, it's comparable in volume to Lake Mead. And so this problem is that warmer temperatures during the winter months leads to less snow. And this is caused by climate change. So increased greenhouse gases mean that everything stays a little warmer and the snow doesn't fall as much. There's not as much precipitation. So our basins don't get regenerated, our springs don't flow as well, and there's just less water to deal with in the spring and summer. So one thing that's cool about the snow is it makes it really easy to see tracks and to know what animals are around. So in the winter when it's cold, if you're an animal, you have basically three choices for what to do. You could leave, you could stay and stay active, or you could stay and take a nap of some kind, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And so here we have somebody who is clearly active in the snow. It's a little hard to see. I'm guessing maybe it could be a squirrel or something, kind of scampering through here. And as we saw before, there's some ducks out. We'll talk more about who's awake in a moment. So if you're an animal in winter, your one option you can have is to leave or migrate. And so we know a lot of animals do this. Your second option is to take some flavor of a nap. So I'm going to talk about three different flavors of what it looks like to sleep in the winter. The first one is what's called hibernation, which you've probably heard about. Maybe you think mostly of bears when you think of hibernation, right? So hibernation is generally a mammal strategy. So you have to be endothermic, which means you can kind of control your own body temperature internally with your metabolism. So to hibernate, often animals will hole up in a cave or underground, like maybe beneath the frost line. And so this is something that mammals like, as you know, bears, some rodents do this. So there's a lot of different animals that will hibernate, and that means kind of going for a longer, deep sleep where you slow down your metabolism, your breathing slows, you don't digest food as quickly, and your body temperature drops, and you can stay that way for a really long time. Different hibernating animals can stay in different places to spend the winter. So if you picture a bear or a bat, they might be in a cave, obviously. Sometimes if you can just get like over there in those rocks, I can't guarantee, but if I were a small mammal that did hibernation, I might climb into a little crevice over there and spend the winter nice and slow down my metabolism, chill out literally, and just like survive that way. And so what you do is you turn down all your body functions and survive off stored fat for the whole winter. Interestingly, here's a fun natural history story. There is one bird, most birds don't hibernate, don't do true hibernation, but one bird has been shown to do so via the Desert Museum Natural History of the Sonoran Desert book. So the porwheel is a very cute little bird in the nightjar family. I recommend you Google it. And so this bird has been found to sometimes hibernate. And the way they found this was a scientist found one in a cave one winter. And he was like, is this bird dead? And he put a mirror under its mouth to see if he could get its breath, like to condense on the mirror, and there was nothing. So he came back 10 days later and it was in the same spot. And he was like, this bird is definitely dead. But then he poked the porwheel and it winked at him. So that is how we know that birds can hibernate sometime. So the next flavor of winter sleep is called brumation. And this is something that reptiles and amphibians do. So brumation differs from hibernation because it's something that ectotherms do, which means you can't control your body temperature. You can only go with what the environment is doing. And so it's different because when it gets really cold, all their metabolism, all their body functions slow down because it's cold. But then if it warms up a little, they might wake up and go outside in sun and maybe get a little drink of water and then go back to sleep if it cools back down. So it's really environmentally dependent. So where are they? A lot of reptiles, for instance, will brumate in groups. So garter snakes and rattlesnakes will do this. They'll be in like a hibernaculum together. They'll all stay together through the winter, which is very cool to see them emerge all at once. Other ones might be just burrowed down below the frost line. Yeah, they're just trying to stay out of the way and keep themselves safe while their body temperature drops and they slow down. So the third flavor of going to sleep in the winter is called torpor. And this is kind of a less extreme hibernation. This just means that you're kind of cranking down your metabolism temporarily in order to conserve energy in the cold, and you crank it back up, so you wake up a lot. A lot of things that do torpor, most birds do this, the ones that sleep a little bit in the winter. Also opossums, skunks. Hummingbirds are known for doing this when they migrate. And they do it so quickly, just kind of overnight. Like they'll go to sleep and turn their whole body temperature down, slow down their metabolism to conserve energy on their flight, and then crank it back up in the morning and get back at it. So for animals that are awake in winter, a lot of things you might see this time of year, particularly we're in Prescott, Arizona, in this area. A lot of water birds. Here we have a whole mess of mallards. But other things you might see, a lot of ducks like pintails, mallards, wood ducks, northern shoveler, buffleheads, widgeon, Canada geese, not a duck, that's actually a goose, swans. Sometimes you might even see tundra swans come in rarely. We're in this middle elevation. We'll sometimes get the pronghorn and the elk will come down to this elevation during the warmer winter months. Also, a lot of eagles are active. I was coming here because I thought we might see an eagle up here in the trees, but no luck so far. I have seen one here before. Other things you might see in the winter, no matter where you live in the US, coyotes, squirrels, rabbits, a lot of winter active birds. So here we get dark-eyed juncos, chickadees, there'll be woodpeckers. I saw an acorn woodpecker a moment ago, jays, nuthatches, things like that. And even some little rodents will stay active. So I know voles and sometimes little mice, they won't be on top of the snow, but sometimes they make little tunnels under the snowpack where it's a little insulated, and they'll run around under the snow. So if you've ever seen those videos in the nature shows of like the foxes kind of pouncing through the snow to eat things, that's what they're going after. A last few things about snow. So snowflake is kind of a more general term for an ice crystal, or it could be a single ice crystal, or it could mean an agglomeration. Maybe you've seen the snow falling in clumps. And so where does it come from? Snow forms up in the atmosphere. It's not frozen water. If it were frozen water, we would call it sleet. That's something different. Instead, snow is actually a direct the water vapor turns directly from a gas into a solid, so it crystallizes. If you remember chemistry class, this is actually a term called deposition. It's a gas solid phase change. This water vapor condenses to a solid, it deposits to a solid. It makes a six-sided figure. It's a hexagon shape. If you ever looked up close at a snowflake, it's a hexagon. And as the air currents up in the clouds are spinning around, they're turbulent, all of this swirls this ice crystal around, and each arm forms differently as the kind of water condenses differently on each arm, which makes them completely unique. So it's true, every snowflake is a completely unique thing. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe below.